Absolutely, Julia. That was, I think, certainly the most striking piece of intelligence that has come out, that North Korea is trying to dissemble what is going on here. Now, to set the table of what we're going to talk about, a couple hours ago, Julia, we had a briefing here in Seoul from South Korea's spy agency. So they briefed lawmakers. Two of those lawmakers come out and say, when we're thinking about this synergy between Russia and North Korean troops, we've always been wondering, how is that synergy going to work? And the top line from South Korea's spy agency is that it's not really working out very well, at least at this point. So, talking about what we know, according to the spy agency and these lawmakers, to your point, Julia, North Korea is telling at least some family members of these troops that the troops are participating in a quote-unquote military exercise, not saying that these troops are going to Russia or ultimately going to Ukraine. And that apparently, according to the spy agency here in Seoul, has caused episodes of unrest in North Korea, which of course is so remarkable to hear, considering that Kim Jong-un tolerates no dissent against the regime. No phone communication is apparently allowed for North Korean officers who are going to the front lines of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And when we're talking about how communication is going on a micro level, apparently that is not going so well either. South Korean intelligence saying that North Korean troops are being instructed in give or take about 100 key words and phrases in Russian, like open fire or get in position. And this Duolingo language lesson on the battlefield, so to speak, it's not going so great. There have been reports that communication is faltering between Russian and North Korean troops. Now, earlier, South Korea's president spoke broadly on this subject. Listen to what he told us.
This illegal military cooperation between Russia and North Korea is a significant security threat to the international community and could pose a serious risk to our national security.
So when he's talking about why this poses a risk to South Korean national security, the thinking is, Julia, when we talk to analysts and North Korea watchers, that this is a fighting force that has been contained to the hermit nation for decades. So when you send troops out to the battlefield, and if they survive and come back to North Korea, that could give them new modern warfare experience that they never would have otherwise had, making the North Korean fighting force more formidable and potentially more of a threat to here in South Korea. So as we look forward, as you mentioned, the Secretary General of NATO confirmed that there are North Korean fighting forces on the front lines in Russia. Two Western intelligence officials, according to our friend at the Pentagon, Natasha Bertrand, CNN's own, have said that, yes, a small number of North Korean troops are actually in Ukraine, which takes this thing a little bit further. It's already Wednesday here in Seoul, but when we look forward to Wednesday in D.C., South Korea's defense minister is going to be meeting with the U.S. Secretary of Defense. We're going to be watching, Julia, to see what other descriptive pieces of this story they can give us, because it is fascinating about how this conflict has reached East Asia here, how the Korean Peninsula has become involved, Julia.
Yeah, on so many levels. I was just looking back over time and physical wars that the North Koreans were involved in. And I'm going back to obviously the 1960s, the DMZ conflict and the Vietnam War, obviously the Korean War then in the 1950s, to get actual live experience, which is what the South Koreans are warning about. You have to go back a really, really long way. Fascinating. Exactly. Mike Valerio, great to have you.